12 months ago, when I made my first cinematic vlog, I honestly had no idea what I was doing. But after a year of experimenting and a lot of mistakes, I've finally learned how to make my vlogs actually feel like a movie. So in this video, I'm going to share all my editing secrets that completely changed the way I edit. Hello, welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Terry. I like to make vlogs and share the process to you guys so you can do the same thing. So this is the third part of my mini series where I share about my creative process on planning, filming, and editing a vlog. So yeah, if you haven't watched the first two parts, I'll leave a link in the description below so you can watch it later. All right, now we're all clear, let's get into it. So this is the number one important thing when it comes to editing, especially for YouTube, because this pretty much makes or breaks your video if your goal is to get more people to watch it. I'll go into a bit deeper later on how I actually edit the video, but this part, I just want to emphasize it first because it is that important. What I like to do is to start off with a question, something that can drive the audience curiosity, so to keep them watching. Also, I like to put some of the best visuals during this part as well, so I can retain the viewership. And I will pair it usually with some faster upbeat music to keep that excitement, as well as the caption on screen. Of course, there are many different ways to plan out your intro. Life of Riza, for example, she does it beautifully in a totally different way. But this is what works for me. And if you're a perfectionist, this is the part you want to be absolutely perfect. Though I don't recommend being a perfectionist. The software that I use is the Davinci Resolve Studio, which is the paid version. There is a free version. In the beginning, I was using that for probably a couple of months and then decided to go all in. And I have to say, yeah, it's one of the best purchases I made. It is good. But I think even for the free version, I was able to do, I think most of the stuff, I was still making videos for those, like I didn't have any problem with it. I used Adobe Premiere before, but I just found Davinci is a bit user-friendly, I guess. I can have all my workflow on one software rather than switching from Premiere to Davinci. CapCut, I haven't really tried it. A few people ask me about that, but I've never personally tried it myself, so I can't really comment on that. All my edits are on my laptop. I've never used my phone to edit, pretty much. It's just not intuitive. Basically, yeah, as long as you can edit, just find what's the most convenient and accessible to you. One of the most challenging things is where do you even start when it comes to editing? Well, this is where organization comes in. To be honest, I'm not a very organized person, so if I can do it, you can do it. I like to group the footage in different scenes. I think it's a good way to kickstart a fresh project so you don't get overwhelmed. And since I like to edit in chronological order, it's pretty easy. I just dump everything onto the timeline and then just cut it accordingly. It's probably the easiest and fastest way to edit, I would say. Okay, so you got your footage organized in different scenes. So what now, apart from just stitching them together? Well, glad you asked. Think about how to build a story around it. What I mean is, what do you want to express in this scene? What sort of feelings are you feeling while you're recording? What sort of emotions you want to bring it to your audience? So there was this scene that felt kind of heavy while I was recording in Hong Kong. It was an ex-jail, and I really wanted to show how I felt during that time. So this is what I did. Since this was a bit heavy, it's not something that I usually like to give to my audience, but at the same time, I want them to feel how I felt at the moment. So I chose music that's a bit more gloomy. I really trying to tone down the aperture a bit to give that sense of hopelessness and despair. And yeah, if you can, it's best to figure out the emotions or vibes that you want to go for during recording. I think that will really help. Okay, now let's get into a bit more practical. As I just mentioned, music really drives the emotion. So what I like to do is to pick a track that fits the vibe with that scene, because that can really set the tone for the video. And this is probably more important than you think. Let me show you an example. This is with track A. And this is with track B. As you can see, the whole vibe of the video changes because of the different tempo and the different emotion that is driving. So make sure to choose something that matches with your vision. Sometimes it can be frustrating when you find a banger track that you love, but it just doesn't fit with the edit. If you've been there, you know how much time it will take and it just kills your momentum. That's why I use Epidemic Sound. It's a platform with over 50,000 original tracks by real artists in over 200,000 sound effects. I've been using it since day one on my channel and it really helped to elevate my content. They even have a Davinci Resolve plugin, which honestly is a game changer. I don't know how many hours it has saved me. You just simply drag your track and drop it into your timeline. It just makes my editing so much smoother now, especially when I'm trying to push out one video a week. And now they've launched a new AI-powered tool called Adapt, where you can change the mood of a track to match your scene, adjust the length of the track, or even rearrange the section so it lines up perfectly with your video. This just makes editing so much more simpler and easier. And because the musics are still produced by real artists, they get to earn more because now the tracks can be used in more different ways. So if you want to try out Epidemic Sound, I got a link in the description for you where you can get 30 days free trial. Thank you Epidemic Sound for sponsoring this segment of this video. So once you have your track down, I usually like to match it with the music. So I'll often try to cut the video to the beat unless it was like a voiceover or I'm talking in the video. During those parts, I'll try to prioritize what I'm telling in the story. So it could be I'm talking about this particular dish and then I'll add some B-rolls on top of it. This can help give more context on what I'm talking about. And to take it to the next level, sound effects are a great way to enhance that scene or just add some impact to your video. So the next part are some of the tips and techniques I found super useful, so make sure to listen up. So first is the J cut and L cut. So for J cut is when the audio enters before the visual, which makes the transition a bit more seamless. And because it looks like a J on the timeline, that's why it's called J cut. And L cut is pretty much the reverse. Kill your darlings. I think this down really comes down to experience. The more that you do it, the better you get better at it. What I mean by that is to be ruthless to your footage. Like you don't need that full 10 seconds of you pouring your coffee into the mug. Just cut out the part that is non-essential to the video. Next one is cut on action. What it means is to go to the next scene while you're in that motion. So here's an example how I did that. So I was walking towards the rock, sit down, take out my notebook and start scribbling. Think in sequences, not shots. Just like the previous example, I think about how the scene will play out rather than every single shot. Like after figuring out the whole story, like me walking to the rock, sitting on the rock, that's another step kind of thing. Then from then you can get a clear visual on what sort of shots that you want in that scene. Match cut. This is something really fun and cool, especially for transitions. So in here, I sort of use the oval shape to take it to the next scene. You can do it differently, like just having yourself on the same spot and then jump to the next location, something like that. Or just simply turn around and back. That's a common one. And the last one is more like a tip. It's not really a technique. It's try to edit as soon as possible while your story in the footage is still fresh, because the longer you leave it, the more likely you'll forget. To be fair, most of my travel vlogs, I leave it till like months until I start editing, and sometimes I already forgot what was happening during those moments. So yeah, try to be as fast as you can. The next part is my favorite part, which is the colors and effects, and that's where all the magic happens here. By the way, there are many different ways to do this. There's no right or wrong, but yeah, this is just a workflow that I like to do. I'll try to break it down as simple as possible. It's not as complicated as it sounds like, but yeah, just to keep that in mind. So first, if you were able to properly expose your footage, this shouldn't be too hard. Since I'm a big fan of that filmic look, the first thing I do is to convert to that. Output here, I'm using the Xenon Film Lock. Honestly, I don't actually understand this bit. This was a workflow that I learned from Rana Gao's video. I've kept some of it and developed my own to simplify my workflow. And now here's the magic. Put on that LUT and boom, already looking super nice. Then I'll fiddle around with the primary just to get the desired look. Here, I try not to do too much because I quite like the image already. Also, one important thing, try to separate things on a different note so you can easily adjust them if you have to. Think of it as layering in wintertime. You have your beanie, your heat tech, your leggings. You can always take one part off from your body. Well, maybe not the legging, but you get the point. Next, I like my footage to look a bit warmer, so I'll dial up the temperature a little bit, and usually I like less magenta, but I think it's a bit too green here, so I'm just gonna turn it up a notch. Now, all the basics are pretty much done, but personally I like to stylize it with my own flair by putting some glow, not too much, otherwise it will be too bright. Elation, just to make things sparkle a little bit. Toning down the sharpness as I like the image to be a bit softer, mimicking that filmic look. And finally, my secret sauce, which is the radial blur, sort of gives the edge a bit of blur to simulate that film look. And that is it. Hope you guys enjoy it. This is the final part of the series. Thank you so much for watching throughout the series. I hope you can find some valuable information from this. So what do you guys want me to talk about next? Let me know in the comment section down below. And if you watch until this part, make sure to drop like the director, I don't know, this emoji. Yeah. And if you've been thinking about documenting your life but not sure how to start, make sure to check out this video.